Hey everybody, it's Stephen Tako, and I'm the host of Tako Talk. And I'm just relaxing here with my good friend Meghan Kennedy. And Meghan, Meghan and I met at
Ursula Menches's
conference. Great memory.
Yes.
Wow. So she's one of these like-minded, very positive people, and I started talking to you a little bit about the anti-bullying movement that I'm working on. And that I was going to be developing the show, and you're like, oh, I've got an anti-bullying story that I could share with you. So I just wanted to invite her into to the show and kind of chat a little bit about some of the bullying that you endured as a kid.
Correct, yes.
So if you can share with us a little bit about the bullying that you endured.
Okay.
And then we'll talk a little bit about how you overcame that.
All right. Well, actually, it was my freshman year of high school is when I was bullied, and it was about a month in the spring, so like February, March timeframe, because I remember that my birthday came across when all of this was happening too, so talk about a great way to spend a birthday when you're dealing with bullying. But I am a military brat, Marine Corps brat actually, and we had just moved into town that year, so it was my first year at this school. My brothers were younger than me, so they were at a different school, and I didn't really have a lot of friends there. In fact, as a youngster, I was a wallflower. People who know me now don't believe that. People who knew me then wonder what happened. But basically what happened is one day in gym class, a couple of girls offered me a Christmas tree. What do you think of when you hear Christmas tree?
Christmas tree?
Yeah.
In gym class?
In gym class.
Well, you think of a green tree that you put presents under.
Well, in this case, well, yeah, that would be nice, but it was February. So in this case, it was a small little pill that was red and green called a Christmas tree. So it was a drug they were offering me.
Oh, okay.
So of course I turned them down because I'd been told don't do drugs and all that. And of course I was a little shocked by it too, because this is the first time I'd ever had any type of experience with someone offering me drugs. So when I got home that day, I talked to my mom. Talked to my folks about it, and just because it concerned me, and I do have a good relationship with my parents, which I hope many children or every child out there has. Well, my folks called the school, the kids got in trouble, and then that's when the bullying started. And at first it was...
From those same girls?
Not just from those girls, though. At first it was those girls, and it was in gym class. In fact, my gym teacher, he even said, no guys, I noticed that you were off, I knew what you were doing, and he tried to take the blame, but they didn't believe him. But ironically, the same day they got in trouble, some other kids got in trouble. Kids who I didn't even know, but they happened to blame it all on me. So it was about 5 or 6 kids total that were bullying me at different stages. A couple of them were in different classes with me. One of them even put her desk back as far as she could and pushed me back as far as I could, so I had no room to maneuver in class. So it was some, verbal abuse, there was some physical abuse. The worst physical abuse came one day because, also ironically, most of these kids happened to ride the same bus as I did.
Oh, jeez. I had the worst bullying that I endured. It was a kid on the bus. And it was torment.
But none of them were at the same bus stop as I was. Well, one day they all got off at the bus when I did, and followed me. And I was going to pick my brother up from daycare, because my parents were at work that day. Well, they ended up actually pushing me on the ground. And so I but I got myself back up, I didn't retaliate, and I just kept on walking. And this is one of those days where instead of knocking on the door, I just walked right into the daycare home, because I knew I had to get away from them. But I made sure to keep on walking. Initially, my parents, talked to their parents, and in one case their parents were like, okay, yes, we're sorry, that kind of stuff. But some of the parents didn't believe my parents. They didn't believe that their child would do anything like that.
Their precious angel could never do something like that.
Yes, and then when the physical abuse started, especially with them getting off the bus and pushing me on the ground, then they went to the school, to the counselors and all that. And I got picked up by the security guard during class.
Who went to the school?
My parents went to the school.
Okay.
Yeah, and they ended up talking to the vice principal and the counselors. I got pulled into the vice principal's office during class one day to talk to him about it. They talked to all the students, and everything at school stopped. Until a few days later, I happened to see them down by my locker. Because they'd been actually told by the school that if they did anything, they would be suspended.
Well, that's admirable.
Yes. Well, I saw them by my locker, and I'm like, what are they doing down there? So when they left, I went the other way and went to see, and I had death threats on my locker.
Wow.
Yeah, there are a variety of things they said, but the two that stick out in my mind are, your ass is grass June 3rd, and you're dead June 3rd, you bitch.
Jeez.
Yeah. So for a teenager, getting those kind of comments back in the 80s, not very fun. But needless to say, my parents had to take it to a next level, called the police. At that point, the police went to these kids' houses and everything. And then everything stopped.
Well, I have to say, first of all, I'm on like 50 or so different anti-bullying groups on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And I hear that there are police that are not doing anything. There are schools that are not doing anything. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, I know this all happened in the 80s, but it's encouraging, that at least at that point, that these kids, that the parents, your parents took initiative to get involved, and that, that the police actually did something, and that the school did something. And there's a lot of pressure on schools right now to do stuff.
Right.
And yet I'm shocked at how many still, because of whatever politics are going on, like some of the kids that their parents are on the police force, or they're in the school, they're teachers, and so they're like, these kids are even worse because they feel like they've got a get out of jail free card because of their parent being on the school board or
not good.
in the police.
Not good to hear things like that.
So did that? So then the bullying pretty much ended for you at that point. Mm-hmm. Now, well, that's good. Now, when did you get involved with the whole epilepsy program that you are now involved with? How did that come about?
Well, actually, in college, everything happened freshman year. Freshman year of high school, I got bullied. Freshman year of college, I'm diagnosed with epilepsy. So, but don't hold freshman year against anyone, okay? But yeah, freshman year of college, I ended up being diagnosed with epilepsy. And initially, of course, there's those times where you're a little withdrawn. Of course, I was a little withdrawn to begin with already. But over time, I even remember talking in my public speaking class about epilepsy. But being the academic person that I am, you're out there, you're learning information, you're asking questions, all that. And over time, I realized that the best way for me to deal with things was simply just to talk about it and not hold it in. When I was a child, I would hold things in, and eventually you get to that one point and you burst and you cry and whatever it is that you do. But I realized that wasn't the way to live life and hold in all that anger and aggression or whatever it was that was bugging you. So over the years, I've always had a support group. My family's always been there. I've had various friends with different levels of support over the years, and you and I have talked various times about different things too.
Sure.
So it's always good to be able to have those people that you can reach out to and not be afraid to talk about it. And over time, that's what basically got me out of that shell and got me to the person that I am today. But
cool.
The organization that we have, Epilepsy Education Everywhere, was started about 3 years ago, and simply being the fact that where I live, we don't have an epilepsy organization that covers our area. I was volunteering with various organizations over the years as we moved around, learning a lot of information and always helping people, but also seeing people as I had been. And I know that I don't want people to have epilepsy get them down and everything. And that you can get out there and achieve things with epilepsy. And also the biggest thing that people deal with is just simply thinking that you're alone. But since we're talking about bullying, I'm always learning new stuff. I mean, no matter what you learn, there's always more to learn.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Earlier this year, I happened upon a study done in 2009 at Ohio State University that showed that 42% of children with epilepsy are subject to bullying, compared to 21% of healthy kids being subject to bullying.
Wow. It blows my mind. I know kids do dumb things and mean things, because they're just not thinking things through. Mm-hmm. But, to bully somebody that's got, like, special needs, epilepsy, and then just recently there was an autistic kid that had the whole, the ALS
I heard
challenge.
about that one too, yes.
Saw the video, and you know, and it's like it's so discouraging to think that these kids are not being coached enough at home to realize the importance of respecting other people and to not, particularly when somebody's got something they have no control over. It's one thing if somebody's just, you know, being a jerk about things in life and being mean themselves, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, you can kind of understand where somebody's not going to treat them as well because they're not treating others well, you know. And not that I'm saying that that's a good thing, but you can understand it. But you know, but to have somebody who's got epilepsy, you know, it's just hard to fathom, you know, why kids are picking on them, you know, and yet,
well,
we all know what happens.
Not just epilepsy, but any disorder, basically. And so yeah, it's sad, and that's why our organization and many other epilepsy organizations are not just there for support, but for education, because people need to understand that it is out there. It is more common than you realize. In fact, just to throw a couple epilepsy stats at you, 1 in 10 people will actually have a seizure in their lifetime, and 1 in 26 will develop epilepsy. So as I said, it's a lot more common than people realize. And there are children who, and you're not necessarily born with it. As I said, I wasn't diagnosed till I was 18 with it. So it's something that can develop at any stage in your life.
Well, you had said, and I want to reiterate this, and that is that people with epilepsy, it's not like a sentence where all of a sudden you've got to, you know, you can't be who you are.
Right.
You know, and yet I'm sure there are people out there that have epilepsy that feel like they have to limit themselves, you know. And now with medicine, though, I mean, is it pretty much under control?
No, actually, only 50% of people get full control with the current treatments, and there's about 20 to 30% that get partial control, and that remaining 20 to 30% that don't get any control and still have hundreds of seizures a day, no matter what treatments they try. That's why it's so elusive, because everyone's different. Everyone's body is different. But what we need to do, like I said, is simply get out there, raise awareness, raise funds, keep on educating people so that people are more aware, alert of it, and more understanding of not just epilepsy but other disorders. Because the way I look at it, I figure everyone's dealing with something. It might not be something health-wise, but I figure everyone's always dealing with something. It's just a matter of how you deal with it.
Right. Yep. It makes sense, and it's how you internalize things inside. You know, like if you feel like you can't accomplish things because of your disability, then you're probably right. You can't do those things. But if you feel that you can do those things, even with your disability, you're probably right.
Yeah.
You probably can do those things.
And it's not to say it can't be limiting, because I actually went 9 years without a license. That is one limitation that many people with epilepsy deal with, because it's not safe for you or the other person, or for the other people if you're out there driving.
Right.
But you still learn to live with it. You adapt. It's called bike, bus, carpool, walk, and when I moved to California, I added Metro to the list. So you still have ways that you can get around, you can live life, you can hang out with your friends, etc.
Still live a full life. Well, if there's anybody out there in the audience that's watching right now and they've got a kid with epilepsy, or they themselves have epilepsy, what closing words of advice would you offer to them?
Well, always be there for support. Make sure and learn as much as you can about epilepsy. Educate everyone around you about it, because again, we just need people to know about it and be aware about it, and that'll help eliminate a lot of these fears and stigmas that are out there. But the biggest thing of all, whether you have epilepsy or you know someone with epilepsy, get out there, live life, don't let it stop you from living your dreams.
Perfect. And with that note, I'm going to end Tako Talks. Thanks so much for coming on out. And
all right.
We're going to go out and get some coffee now. And
there we go.
You guys go ahead and have yourself a great day. And thanks for tuning in to Tako Talk.